Hello and welcome to another episode of Sports Talk with G. Today we have a very special guest, one of my fellow UCLA brethren, Mr. Alex, or you can call him Dr. Alex if you'd like. And we are going to be talking about UCLA sports. So I want you to give a little intro about yourself, and then I'll get started with the first question.
Sure, yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Very happy to be here. It's been a long time coming. Big UCLA fan, obviously. I went there with Govind, and tons of family went there. I could do the whole list if you want, but it's a lot. I grew up, 2 blocks away, and since I was a kid, we were going to UCLA basketball games. My grandfather had season tickets. My dad used to go when he was a kid. My son, who's 9 months now, just went to his first game about a month ago. So very much in the family and excited to be here.
Nice. Yeah. Alex and I suffered through the Steve Alford years. We had one Lonzo Ball year of fun, and the rest were torture. Poly Pavilion maybe would have like 2,000 people total in the games. At
Yes.
the game, some nights we'd sit at like the lower level for like $10. It was nice to attend the games, but there were some games I would just be literally alone by
Yeah.
myself in the whole section. It
Yeah.
was it was the dark days, and unfortunately, football was also. We had Jim Mora, which
Yeah.
was better
That
than
was fun.
Chip. It was fun.
Yeah.
They had some fun games, but okay, we're going to focus on UCLA basketball. UCLA basketball has is the bread and butter of UCLA, right? Everybody knows UCLA is a basketball school. They don't care
Yes.
about football. This season has been awful. So the first topic I want to talk about is is Mick Cronin a good basketball head coach? Go first.
Okay, so I know your thoughts on this, and I know you've made it clear on the podcast multiple times. It's in the public. I think it is so obvious that he is a good coach. I mean, come on. Come on. He is a good coach. Yes, he has his flaws. Yes, he gets a little bit too angry. He's just like a little, minion on the sideline shouting at his players and his assistant coaches, by the way. He curses at them a lot. But he is a good coach. Look at how we've been playing the past couple of games. Every single year, look how much better the teams get. He has a consistent record of getting his teams into the tournament and doing well in the tournament. He has his flaws, but come on, you have to admit he's a good coach.
So you're keeping Mick Cronin long term at UCLA.
Of course. Mick
All
Cronin
right.
just said a week or two ago that he wants to retire at UCLA. He wants UCLA to be his last job.
And no college basketball coach has ever lied.
I would love that. If Mick becomes the next Coach K, then I could see
The
that.
next Coach K.
I could see that. I could see
Okay.
that. Look, you know what? You know what? John Wooden had like a 500 record for his first 10 years or something at UCLA.
Okay.
And he figured it out. Mick has done a hell of a lot better than that. And we're on the upswing right now. So I'm feeling confident.
Okay. Well, couple points on that. So Alex knows, my viewers know, I'm pretty harsh. I'm pretty hard on Mick Cronin. I think
You're
he
hard on
has.
all coaches. Every single coach you
I'm,
you like
I'm
despise.
hard
You're
on
ready
all
to compare
coaches,
them on game
but
two.
but to be fair, Steve Alford was awful. We can all agree on that. And Chip Kelly is horrendous, even worse than Alford, I think.
Yeah.
But Mick Cronin. So I'll give him some credit, right? We had our Final Four run, and we've had a couple Sweet 16 runs. Last year was our shot to win the national title, but Bona got hurt, and Jalen Clark got hurt. It happens. We had to play Nuba. You're not going to win if you have to play Nuba. So that sucked. Let's go back to those, right? So the Final Four year, did Mick really do a great job coaching, or was the team underachieving until Johnny Juzang was just told to ISO score? I guess maybe that's his coaching, is just let Johnny Juzang score. But
Yeah.
my problems with Mick come down to the offensive system is not creative, and it doesn't create easy open looks for people. I'll give you my three, then you can rebuttal them. So that's number one. His offensive system is ugly and ineffective. You can be ugly and effective, and it would be fine, but it's ugly and ineffective. And I know Mick's slogan is "Win is fun" is spelled WIN, right?
Yeah.
But these games aren't fun this year, and they're not winning, right? The Mick Cronin games have never been that fun. They're really ugly to watch. But at some point, you can't just only preach defense. You have to have a good offense and offensive game plan. So that's my number one thing. Number two is his rotations are just baffling sometimes, and he clearly plays favorites with some players. And I don't know if that's to teach people lessons or not, but when we lost to North Carolina, why was Peyton Watson and Jalen Clark on the bench as Caleb Love is just going off for a bazillion points and we have to watch Jules Bernard just suck against him on defense every time? Why do we have to watch Cody Riley brick and Miles Johnson just sitting on the bench? We should have won that game. But he sticks to his guns. He just doesn't adapt to the game flow. He refuses to play the younger guys over older guys. For example, this year, I still see Nuba come on the floor for no reason. The team is terrible. Develop the young guys. Where is Fidlay? Where is Vite? Where is Mara? I know Mara has his flaws, but you need to develop him this year. So that's my other major issue with Mick. And then my third major issue with Mick is he won a lot with Alford guys. Alford was a great recruiter, terrible coach. His Final Four run, I think he got Juzang as the transfer, but everybody else was an Alford recruit, right? Including Tiger. Oh, wait, that's another thing. Sorry, four. He puts players in roles that don't make sense. Tiger Campbell is Steph Curry now.
Yeah.
Adem Bona is the post-up scorer of the century. Like, what are we doing here, right? But sorry, going back to that. But recruiting, this year, he recruited 7 people, right? 7 freshmen, 4 international guys. Out of the 7 people, 0 of them can shoot at all. So, like, where? I don't know. And it seems like his play style, he isolates recruits locally. I'm a little worried about our long-term recruiting prowess. I know we have one person signed for next year, Eric Feeney. That's it. And I know Mick in Cincinnati is used to coaching lesser talents and bringing them up, but that takes some patience, right? You need to wait a couple of years. This is UCLA. You can't just be like only doing it in their 3rd and 4th year, right? You got to be reloading every year. And the more and more you get these high-ranked recruits who then don't play, like Watson, Mara is probably embarrassed. I mean, come on. The more it's going to. So those are my points against Mick Cronin. I will give you the credit. His teams do improve throughout the year, and he does win. But yeah.
Okay. All right. So starting with that first point, the offensive system is ugly. And I'll combine that a little bit with your point about Tiger Campbell being Steph Curry and Adem Bona being like the centerpiece.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah. Because that is, that's like Cronin tactics, right? Like you're basically criticizing Cronin tactics. So I think there is a point to that. Every year we hear some like ridiculous, scheme or plan that Mick Cronin is gonna try to implement. Like you said, Steph Curry is Tiger Campbell is gonna be the next Steph Curry. We're gonna have him shoot 30 shots a game, and half of them are gonna be threes, which obviously did not happen. This year it was Adem Bona is like gonna be the centerpiece. They wanted to do that 2-post system, which I get, looking at the talent of the team. I think that is a reasonable thing to do, but obviously did not work out in any way. And I think a big part of the reason we've won the last couple of games is because we went away from that. And yeah, I mean, every single year, it's like there's this crazy plan that he has. This year, I remember he said at the beginning of the year that Adai Mara was going to be starting by the end of the year, which seems a long lost dream. So I do think that there is a problem in evaluation. But I really truly think that over the course of the year, he makes the adjustments that other coaches are scared or unable to make. Like Steve Lavin, Steve Alford never would have been able to bring those teams up. They just would have kept trying the same things that don't work. Mick Cronin makes those adjustments. Going back to Juzang, we were so frustrated all year how long of a leash, especially you. I remember multiple times.
He's terrible. He got hot, and he's back to being terrible again. He's not good.
Okay, true. I agree. So, yes, I mean, back to your original point, yes, I do think Juzang got hot, and I think that maybe Cronin gets a little bit too much credit for that. But you have to say that he does make those adjustments. We're no longer doing the 2-post system. He's gone away from Adai Mara, who, maybe can get 6 or 7 minutes, and maybe should get more, but obviously is not what
honestly, Adai Mara, if he just stayed in Spain, he would have been a top 15 pick in the NBA draft. Now he wouldn't be drafted.
Crazy. I remember he was projected number 1. It's insane.
I don't know which scout did that, but that's moronic. Yeah. I could watch it for 2 minutes and say no chance.
Yeah. Okay. I mean that I think is we'll get to that with the recruiting. So the second point, you said the rotations are baffling.
Oh, and let me just let me on
Okay.
your first point, right? I do agree he makes adjustments like that over the course of a season, but he does not make them within a game, and that comes to bite you in March Madness
That's
because he did
true.
not adjust during the North Carolina game. Oh, the other thing that pisses me off about his lack of adjustments, he's a defensive coach, but why near the end of the game do we never guard the inbounder and they always just get a wide open shot to make a dagger
No.
three? And he
Yeah.
hasn't learned from that every time it happens.
Yeah. No, the last time, I think the ASU game. Yeah, the ASU game we guarded the inbounder and
Finally,
we actually
but
we
earlier
made
in
it
the year
not
he
sink.
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I mean, I don't get that either. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like watching him in the games, I recently had the chance to sit, in one of the like the donor seats. Thank you to my cousin Josh and his girlfriend Becca. Shout out, I know they're listening. Um, and you
We're gonna grow our viewer base with this UCLA.
so you can see like we were, I don't know, 6 rows behind Mick Cronin. He is livid. He is livid. Like on TV, you maybe see, 10 seconds of him saying the F word or something, but I don't understand how someone that angry, he is like a little demon. Like I swear to God, you can see steam coming out of his ears.
Yeah.
Like I honestly think he's too angry to make any adjustments. It's insane. So yeah, I will give you that. I question, and that kind of goes to the rotations point. I question his ability to make in-game adjustments, but I do know in their practices they are working hard and very much improving over the course of the year, which you can never say about like Steve Alford, for
I will
example.
agree with that.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have a good counterpoint to that. The rotations are baffling. Like, I mean, I do think it's the same kind of concept where in the beginning of the year he has a plan and look at the roster. The he knew our guards are crap. Like McClendon, yes, he's had a big improvement, but he's
This
not.
is coming from number one Will McClendon hater. That guy is legitimately a good shooter,
Yes.
and I don't understand why nobody ever creates looks for him to shoot. Like he'll come in the game, they should be running him off screens, pin downs. They should run that play Lazar always gets for Will,
Yeah.
but he does have a slow release. But he makes most of his shot. I'm shocked if he could have done half of this last year, we probably make the Final Four.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I do. I mean, they barely ran a pick and roll until like 2 games ago. Like the offense was just it was in total disarray. And those 2 points are like so. I feel like it's so intertwined because the rotations were terrible. This is what I think happened. The rotations were terrible because at the beginning of the year, Mick Cronin said, I'm going to look at my team. We have good bigs. We have a Dembona, who's probably our best player. We have Burke, who's a good big. We have a Daimara, who is projected to be the number one, whatever. And then the
That scout is
guards,
fired.
what?
That scout is fired.
Yeah. And yeah, whatever. And the guards are like so. We had Dylan Andrews, who I think a lot of us had bigger expectations for at the beginning of the season. He's been a little bit disappointing. Will McClendon and maybe Lazar, who is the former sixth man of the year at Utah. Like Sebastian Mack, we all knew he was going to be like a dog and be confident and stuff, but nobody thought he had any potential to be like our best player potentially. So I don't blame Mick Cronin. I think at the beginning of the year, he looked at the team and he said, we need to go through our bigs and we need to have 2 bigs on the floor if you just look at the way our roster is constructed.
Mhm.
So that's what they were doing all at the beginning of the year. They were practicing the high low for like months, right? Like and how many times was it implemented? Implemented maybe once against, like CSUN or whatever.
Chaminade or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like Chaminade. Yeah, and it worked once, and then Bona got an amazing dunk, and we all got excited, and then we played one good team, and it never worked again.
Well, they
Um,
were winning by like 16 to Marquette, and then they just lost
yeah.
because yeah. But go ahead.
But to make Cronin's credit, he has adjusted, and especially in the USC game when we had a big advantage with a Dembona and our bigs, we didn't do the high low anymore. We ran pick and rolls with the Dembona. He got 2 great dunks, I think one with Da and one with Sebastian Mack, and he every single time you could see they lobbed it into a Dembona, which they've practiced a lot in practice. And if he got double teamed, he quickly kicked it out to people like Will McClendon for an open three. And we hit, what, 43% against USC from three. So they are improving and the rotations are starting to make more sense over the course of the season. But you are 100% right that he has his favorites and it makes no sense. I don't know why Elaine is not playing. I think that there's more to be said about that.
Yeah.
honestly.
My
I
fear of that is, I think you're going to get into recruiting, but my fear is that we went big on Euros this year, but any of the Euros watching this year's team, why would they want to come? Because
yeah,
they're not getting. My issue on this with the rotations and the kind of in the system is that, let's say Feeblay comes in, right? Sebastian Mack has been starting the whole year basically. He he's our only person who can get to the rim. Da is fast, but he doesn't use his quickness for anything on offense. He literally
yeah,
just dribbles and gives it to someone. I'll get into Andrews later, but Mac, right? He can get to the rim. Terrible shooter, but he can get to the rim and get fouls, right? He's a freshman, right? Brandon Williams, a freshman. Um, and Lazar's a junior, right? So let's just look at these guys, right? So Mac, if he makes a mistake, Cronin like will go and say if he was on a good team, he'd never be starting. But he still keeps him in the game for some reason. Cronin still plays Mac.
yeah,
But let's say Vide or Feeblay come in, literally they'll come in cold,
yeah,
randomly in one game, like 4 minutes left in the first half. Cronin will probably be yelling, "Get up, you MFer," or something.
yeah,
Vide off
yeah,
the bench. Vide's probably like, "Who, me? You know who I am?" Vide
yeah,
comes in cold. Some guy drives and he maybe makes one turnover or he gives up a layup. Cronin will immediately take him out of the game. Feeblay
yeah,
immediately out of the game. They have no chance to get confidence or gain rhythm. And I think it's just doesn't make sense because Lazar, he's playing better the last few games, but I like to call Lazar the laser because it's completely ironic because that guy is a horrendous shooter.
yeah,
Uh, but he can just play 38 minutes a game, make no shots, and just Cronin doesn't pull him at all. And
yeah,
I just don't understand that part of Cronin's coaching. I know he's trying to teach something, but if I'm an international recruit or a high ranked recruit, I know people are saying, like, oh, they're not UCLA caliber or they don't buy into the Mick Cronin way. It's kind of BS because, like, give me a break. Like, there's
yeah,
other great coaches who don't just constantly yell at everybody,
yeah,
right? So if I'm an international, like, quote unquote potential first round pick, why would I come play for Cronin when these guys were clearly promised at least an opportunity? And it's not like Dylan Andrews, he had one good game, right? His last game at USC was good. It's not like he's raising the roof as a point guard here.
right,
He's not a point guard at all. He doesn't ever create shots for anybody. And he's not that good of a defender either. So like Jan Vide is probably like, I got a legitimate shot to compete. He doesn't have a chance to compete. You can't compete in practice. You have
yeah,
to take what's in the game, and he doesn't get playing time.
yeah,
Feeblay is our best defender, and there's so many games this year where the other team would have a guy going off, and Feeblay would never get a shot at defending him. It reminded me of Jalen Clark the first 2 years.
yeah. I agree. Fible, I think is a good like test case or a good example of a lot of things. I think that the Cronin staff last year totally misevaluated a ton of these people. I think that's probably not, they're not the only ones. Like Adaimara was projected super high.
Yeah.
Um, I think I do think that we're going to be in trouble with international recruiting, but I don't think that the staff really want to recruit internationally. I think like we hired that one international assistant coach, but he's like there's some
Rule.
NCAA rule where he can't recruit off campus. I don't understand really what the point of that is of
Well, we
having
lost our international guy, right? Igor. I think that was
yeah, yeah.
he's at
And
the
so
he's on the
like
Raptors now. Yeah.
yeah, and he was, had this excellent class, which now apparently is not so great. But anyway, so like I don't understand how they're doing these evaluations. Is it just the YouTube highlights? Like it doesn't make sense.
I think
And
it's
then
hard because like the people in Mara we're playing against are twigs and they're
yeah,
they're terrible.
yeah,
Um, so like the high school competition here is
is better.
way better. But like Vide was on the I think Croatian national team, right? And he was playing well against the USA select team.
Yeah.
So like, Vide can play. He just doesn't get a shot.
Yeah. Maybe there's something to do with like the culture shock and, being at a US college, like they don't have colleges like we have, like the social environment. I don't know if that's true. I was
They don't
trying
have a Rocco's in Westwood, right? They don't have a Rocco's.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that'll get to my my insider knowledge. So I don't know, viewers, I don't want to force
Later on, we got a big scoop here. But
Okay,
But
So
my concern is like international recruiting will be, but he keeps whining about NIL and all these
yes.
things. And like, so I'm worried about domestic recruiting too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the for all, 21 of our viewers, maybe some of them aren't as in the weeds as we are with Mick Cronin's comments. So you alluded earlier, he said people like Sebastian Mack. Did he say his name?
He did.
He said people like Sebastian Mack would not be playing if Amari Bailey was still here,
He
if
didn't say
Jalen
specifically
Clark.
Amari Bailey, but on a good team, Mac wouldn't play more than Mac would be like the seventh man or eighth man or something like
Yes, yeah,
that.
yeah. And I think he also was talking about Elaine in those moments too, because Elaine must have some attitude issue. Like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't
Doesn't
make
make
sense.
sense.
I don't know, or maybe it's just Mick being crazy, but yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It's
So
the stubbornness. He's stubborn.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. But here's what I'll say about the rotations and the recruiting. The people that all of the fans really wanted to play. I'm thinking of like Jake Kyman, Peyton Watson, Miles Johnson, like you said earlier, um, Abramo Sanka.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, how many of those guys have really panned out? I mean, I know Peyton Watson.
Watson has panned out. Watson's
Yeah,
good.
I know he's playing well, but like he's not lighting the world on fire like Hawkes is, who was Mick Cronin's guy. So I don't know. I have a feeling like there's more to it. Like,
Wait,
Mark's not playing
let me
for.
go back. Was Hawkes the Mick Cronin recruit, or was he?
No, I think he was a Alford recruit. Yeah.
But he was only coached by Cronin, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And also, he was Mick Cronin's guy. Like that is the quintessential Mick Cronin player.
Yeah.
And I would argue Jalen Clark too, although for a long time he was not Mick Cronin's guy. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. I mean, it's confusing. It's
Yeah,
confusing.
it's confusing. I think that's my main issue. There seems to be he's consistently inconsistent in some ways, but then
Yeah.
very consistent in other ways.
Right.
And I don't know, it's just I guess it's just irritating to me.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to be yelling that much at
Yeah.
everybody. And there's no reason to have that short of a hook for some players and then the longest leash. I'm sure the like Fible and Vita are on the bench like, what the hell? Mac just turned it over
Yeah.
for the seventh time. Why can't I get a shot?
Yeah. What about Burkett? Like he was
Yeah.
playing more minutes last year on like a professional team than he
Yes.
is this year. It's crazy.
Burke, another guy who's probably regrets coming here because he would have been a top 15 pick.
Yeah, I am worried about recruiting. I think if something does Mick Cronin in, it's going to be that his relationships with recruiting places are torched. The same thing that happened to Ben Howland. It's he's angry. When he has 5-star recruits, they sometimes don't play. If you end up on Mick's bad side, like I think it's very easy for the Arizona coach to recruit against Mick, unfortunately. And
Arizona
yeah, I think
coach recruits good international people.
yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Like, how many good international players are there really?
The
Like,
Kentucky guy looked good.
yeah, the
His
Kentucky
first
guy
game.
is good, but like honestly, I think it's like 1 to 2 a year.
Who are
Like
like legitimate game changers? Probably.
exactly, yeah. Like Tubelis was great, but where is he now? He's like playing in Slovenia or something, like and Kerr Krissa from Arizona also,
He
like,
was terrible though.
yeah, like I mean he
He
was, yeah.
shot them out of games all the time.
And I was looking at like, like the Gonzaga teams, like they have, good international guys, and now that's, kind of gone to Arizona too. They've started to pick up their international recruiting, but really, I just kind of question if it's like a true good source. I think that last year it's clear that we whiffed on a lot of good guys.
Like
The guy that went
Stojakovic, like
Stojakovic,
did you
Collier,
get him
Isaiah Collier.
shooting? Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy that went to Gonzaga, Dusty Stromer,
Stromer.
and last minute
Who
we
was
went to
Kyle Filipowski, Duke, right?
Filipowski. Yeah, those guys were all like
We were in
top.
the final 3 or 4 for all
Yeah,
of them, missed every single one.
every single one, and they had to pivot last second to international recruiting, and it's impressive that they were able to do that.
Yeah.
But it represents an error, like something Mick got recruited against. We whipped on the transfer portal too. What the hell? We got Lazar. Like, I mean, he's good, but
It's not
come on,
good.
LA.
He's
Yeah.
mediocre at best.
So I really, something is wrong with the recruiting. I'm scared about that. And also the NIL. We all know UCLA, we're not Tennessee, we're not USC, we just don't, people don't care as much, like people are not going to be donating. Have you donated to Men of
I'm a
Westwood?
monthly Men of Westwood, 50
Oh,
$50. I'm
good.
$50 a
Thank
month.
you.
That's what I
Thank
can
you.
do right now. Hopefully, I want to up it, but like,
The podcast has to blow up
yeah,
first.
the
If the
podcast
podcast
had to
goes
blow up
up,
for me to up it. But
yes,
just going back to that, remember the transfer portal? They whiffed on a couple guys. I think the guy who went to UConn, Cam Spencer from Rutgers.
yes,
We
yeah,
whiffed on him. He would have been amazing. And then
yeah.
remember, Reese Dixon Waters was supposed to sign, but
Oh my God, yeah,
Mick wouldn't promise him a starting. Are you kidding me?
yeah,
Please start. Mick should have been like, please, Reese, start.
yeah. I mean that was looking so
If we
bad.
had him, if we just had Reese Dixon Waters this year starting, we would be in the tournament.
We would be in the tournament. I agree.
Just
Yeah,
why can't you guarantee him a spot? Who
yeah,
cares? I know you have to work hard, but when you have a team as bad as you do, someone with experience who's a good shooter, who's a
yeah.
playmaker, give him the spot. I mean, I
I
couldn't remember the article he had signed, and then like 2 hours later, he's like, he's going to
yeah,
SDSU.
yeah, yeah. I think that Mick will soften on that. I think he has to. You know,
Yeah,
I don't think you can be this hard-nosed, like, I'm not going to promise anyone anything. We don't want 5 stars here. Like, it's not sustainable.
it isn't. And just let's look at the recruiting class for this year, and let's
Yeah,
and what lineup. So we got Feeble, Vide, Burke, and Mara as the 4 international recruits. Then we got Devin Williams and Brandon Williams. And then we got Lazar, the laser, right? So of those recruits, Lazar he does play hard. I'll give him that. But
yeah.
he plays like 38 minutes a game with unlimited leash.
Ridiculous.
And
And he's
every out
always
of bounds play is only for Lazar.
yeah, and
It's
it
the
makes
same.
no sense. And by the time he's played 30 minutes, he's not going to hit a shot the rest of the game. They don't even have to guard
And usually for the first 30 minutes, he also doesn't hit a shot. So
him.
so he's a nothing. He shouldn't be starting. I think he was like you were saying, we failed on all the other transfers. We took Lazar because we needed someone.
Yeah,
Um, and then the US guys, Devin Williams and Brandon Williams, I actually really like. Devin Williams, the last game against USC, he shows bounce. He's not, it was crazy. Like you'd think
yeah,
he's not scared of Cronin at all. He came,
no,
never plays, he was shooting shots. He was like, I
yeah,
like it. I like that. And
yeah,
he has bounce. He's a twig though, but he has
yeah,
bounce, plays hard. I think he's going to be a good stretch big. Brandon
yeah,
Williams is going to be good. He's the
yeah,
youngest, one of the youngest players in college basketball. He graduated high school early, I believe. He is he is a dog.
yeah,
He's going to be a good power forward.
yeah.
And
He,
I think
he
they're
reminds
better
me,
than the international guys.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, he reminds me a lot of this is an old school UCLA comp. He reminds me of Ryan Hollins. Ryan Hollins, when he came into
Yeah.
UCLA, we knew he was athletic. He was super lanky. He had like no technique whatsoever. And then I think he stayed 3 years, and by his third year, he was blowing up. He was dunking on everyone. He had like 4 blocks or 5 blocks a game. It was amazing. I think that Brandon Williams is gonna blow up just like that.
Do you think Brandon or Devin Williams will do
Or
that?
sorry, Devin Williams. Yeah,
Brandon Williams is more of a small forward, power forward hybrid kind of guy, but I think this is going to sound stupid, but I think he could develop a Hawkes like game.
yeah, I could see it. Yeah, I mean, I that's the thing. I trust the coaching of our big Darren Savino. Darren Savino is my man, the assistant coach that is in charge of the bigs. He
Oh yeah,
really
how has he done with Kenny? Tell me, he's been 6 years.
not. Come on, are you kidding me? Who can coach Kenny?
But why does he play?
That's
He
a Cronin
literally
decision.
because
That's
he
a Cronin.
missed a wide open dunk. We lost Arizona. We should have
Yeah,
beaten Arizona if he. That was a huge momentum swing. Mara, I understand he's small, but Kenny is so bad.
yeah.
Doesn't he look out of shape too? I don't know.
I don't know, dude. Kenny, I love him, but yeah, he's not a rotation player. I mean, everyone knows that.
So let's get to the starting lineup of this year's team, right? So we got
Okay.
Dylan Andrews, Mac, Laser, Burke / Williams, depending, and then Bona. So point guard, Dylan Andrews to me is the biggest disappointment of the year. I thought he was going to have one of those stupid now, but Russell Westbrook-esque like first to second year. Because last year when he came in, we were all so excited, right? He would be
Yeah,
Westbrook.
yeah,
But what you realize is he wasn't really a playmaker last year, like offensively. He wasn't like the lead. When he's the lead, he's not a point guard. He
no,
doesn't create offense. He doesn't drive to the rim. He'd
no,
be a much better sixth man than he is as a starting point guard.
yeah. He's playing scared. You know, he and Mick Cronin said this when we were like, 7-12 or something, had just lost like 4 in a row. We did not have a leader. I think that and get ready because I'm gonna drop my insider knowledge.
Yeah.
So I think that this year, because we took so many guys, because the guys that we new guys, I mean, because so many new guys came in, because the guys that stayed just don't really have that character. They don't have that leadership
Mm,
trait. We got screwed. And like you said, we were so close in the Hawaii Classic or whatever, and things just fell apart. And I think we just lost. And on top of that, with all these new guys, you have Mick Cronin yelling his butt off. After that, if you noticed, he was a little bit quieter for the next like 3 or 4 games,
mm,
especially after Gonzaga. But I think with all these new guys, with the lack of leadership, with Mick Cronin yelling his butt off, people just did not have the mental fortitude. And I think that starts with DA. Like DA, I remember at the end of last year, Tiger Campbell, like there was, all this speculation as to whether he was going to stay. And he posts this Instagram story, and it's a picture of him and Dylan Andrews. And he's saying like handing over the keys to Dylan Andrews. And that was his like farewell to UCLA. Okay,
right.
it's confirmed. And I was excited, like you said, when we watched Dylan Andrews last year, he was a firecracker. He was super fast. He could get a ton of steals. He got really nice fast breaks and layups. It seemed like he tries really hard, like you said. He's a solid guy, but the mental leadership and the mental aptitude are just not there. And so Dylan Andrews missed a game
Mhm.
earlier this year, and it was very confusing why he missed it. He wasn't injured. He wasn't injured. He was just
And there
uh,
was no information released on it, really. I don't think.
there was no information released on it except from we have the locksmith, now we have the insider.
Okay.
This guy found out some information. I have some sources that are high up in the UCLA wooden circle or whatever. And what happened is he smoked weed. He
Uh,
smoked weed. You heard it here first on Sports Talk with G. This is the only place this information has been released. Not on Bro, not on, Twitter, not
Get it?
anywhere.
And this is free.
And this is free, okay? Or, next episode, maybe because of this, we're gonna have to add a subscription model. You get the inside pieces from the insider. But this is hard, cold facts right here. He missed that game because he smoked weed and he got caught. What are you doing smoking weed in the middle of the UCLA basketball season? This is go time. And it was right in the middle, like it was right when we had that, 6 game streak where we lost 4 games. I think it was right after we lost to UC Riverside.
Yeah. Well,
What are
I
you doing,
can't believe
DA?
those words were uttered out of your mouth, but yes, we
I
did lose
know.
to Riverside and
Yeah.
Cal. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's ridiculous. Like, dude, don't be smoking weed. You're supposed to be the point guard. You're supposed to be the leader, the quarterback on the floor, the coach's eyes and ears on the floor. I've never seen it from him, and
The
that.
problem is, yeah, like we can say it, but people have it or they don't have it, right? Russell
Yeah,
Westbrook had it.
yeah,
Uh, Dylan Andrews, like I said, I think he'd be better off as a 6 man. I think they should try V-Day as a point guard. I really do. But it's not going to happen. Obviously, it's not going to happen. V-Day can barely get 2 minutes in a blowout, right? It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
going to happen. My concern is that Dylan Andrews, we don't have a point guard coming in. Feeney's not a true point guard either. I think we
yeah.
really need
A
to have
transfer.
a transfer point guard leader. And I think Tiger, if he had stayed, he would have made more money in NIL than whatever he's doing now. But
Yeah, I think Tiger was just, I don't blame him. He was in
seven
college for
years.
like what, 6 years? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dylan Andrews my most disappointing. Sebastian Mack, I didn't know much about him before coming in, but I like him. I think he can get a bucket. He's the only person who can get a bucket. Nobody else can go to the rim. So he's fine. But small forward Lazar, I think we've talked about Lazar enough. He should not be starting. He's not a UCLA caliber starting small forward,
yeah,
but on this team, I think he has to. Sorry.
yeah,
Excuse me. Talking. Throat got dry. I think he has to start. But the power forward position's been switching off. I know you had mentioned earlier they started with Mara and Bona,
yeah, yeah.
Burke. So what are your thoughts on Burke?
I think he's good. I think he deserves more playing time. I think he's one of the few guys like Mac that doesn't feel scared of shooting it.
Mm.
Like and we need to utilize that. And he has a little bit of an ability to like post up and create his own shot. He's not like Bona where you need to be, 5 feet away from the basket for it to go in. So I think we should use him more. And I think that hurt us when he was out at the beginning of the year because I do think Bona and Burke can start together and should start together.
I agree with you 100%. Burke has a lot of potential. He needs to shoot more. I think he should demand. He is in the post a lot, but our guards, again, coming back, this is a will transformation. He's the only one who can get the ball in the post.
Yeah.
Mac and Andrews have no clue how to pass it into the
Yeah.
post.
I honestly think we'd be better off if Will McClendon was starting over
That's
DA.
what we're gonna get to, right? So what is the insiders' ideal starting lineup and first three people off the bench?
All right. So Bona, obviously. I mean, no question. I think next is Burke.
Berke. Say it right.
Berke, sorry. Try his last name.
Byung-Chun
Buyung Tunchel, yeah, can't say it.
Pretty
Uh,
good.
okay, so Bona, Berke. I do think Sebastian Mack has to be there. Um, Here's where it gets tough. I think that our point guard should be Will McClendon. I think he's a
I think
leader.
our point guard,
Yeah.
he can't really dribble.
I mean, like,
But at the same time, Dylan Andrews barely beats the press anyways. He has to pass it out. So I guess it maybe doesn't
yeah.
matter.
Yeah, that's what I'm comparing it to. Yeah, I know you're gonna say Jan Vide. I don't feel like I've gotten enough minutes from him to really
Yeah.
tell. Like he does make a lot of mistakes, and just gets pulled immediately when he makes them. So yeah, I don't know, but
I mean, it's one of those things where like pressure creates pressure, right?
right,
It just compounds. He doesn't get to play out his mistakes like Mac does. He makes a mistake, he's on the bench. So he's like playing with stress, which we know, like as psychiatrists, right? You know, the more anxious you get, the worse your anxieties. It just perpetuates.
and everyone has a different tolerance, and his is just not that high, I don't think.
So
Okay.
who's the fifth guy?
So the small forward, I think Fiblui, like I mean, I'd rather have him in than Lazar, but Lazar, I don't know. It's a tough. What do you think? I
Tough.
think,
So I thought it was easy, and then when I was trying to do it, it's not that
yeah,
easy. So I think at the beginning of the year, just if I had not known any of these things, right? Beginning of the year, I would have done a I would have probably done what Mick did because we came in with like Mara is this like remember the stretch big who could go to the 3-point line, all these things. So
yeah,
Dylan Andrews, I was confident was going to be our point guard.
yeah,
Shooting guard, I hated Will McClendon because I thought he was
yeah,
terrible. So I would not have started him. I would have probably, based on practice, Mac is probably dominating. So Mac,
yeah,
I think you brought in the transfer who is supposed to be a good shooter. So it made sense, right? As a small forward, and then Mara and Bona and see what happens. So I don't fault Mick for starting the year that way. But what I do fault is that I just see the same damn lineup every game. Like,
right,
luckily, he got rid of the Mara Bona combo because that was
yeah,
a disaster. But like, what I would do now is I don't think I would put Will as the point guard. I would just move Sebastian Mack to point guard. I would
okay,
put Will at shooting guard, and then I mean I think we have the same lineup. I think it'd be Fiblé at small forward because now it's kind of a lost season. This is a development year. We're not
yeah,
making the tournament. It's a development year. I don't care what Lazar does. It doesn't
yeah,
matter, right? So give those minutes to Fiblé,
yeah,
right? And Berke and Bona, and then the first guy's off the bench. Lazar would be a great guy off the bench.
yeah. Agreed. I mean, yeah, he was sixth man of the year. Yeah,
Yeah, I would put Lazar, Andrews, Mara, and Vide as the four off the bench. Kenny Nua
yeah,
would never see the floor. Um, wait,
and
no,
Williams.
I forgot Brandon Williams.
Yeah,
It's tough.
yeah,
Well, no, it's not that tough, right? So backup point guard, I put Dylan Andrews, backup point guard, and then Williams backup 3-4 as Lazar also 3-4 backup. And then Vide coming at point guard, Matt could move to shooting guard, and
yeah.
then Mara as the backup center. That's
Right,
probably what
right.
I'd do. I'd remove Nuba from the rotation, but it
I,
is tough. I'm not going to criticize Mick for because it is tough, but I think you have to make some adjustments. I don't
yeah,
know.
I agree. I agree that it's a development year. I think the only shot we have, there could be a miracle. We win like, our next 10 games and we get an at-large bid. I think that would be,
Or we win the Pac-12 tournament.
yeah, I think that's the more likely thing is either Arizona gets knocked out early in a fluke game or we win in the final, which I think is super unlikely. We've done that once
Yeah.
in all of Nick's years, and Arizona travels so well to Vegas. We should go live. We can do a live podcast. That'd be cool.
Good. We'll get interviews with
Yeah,
with Martin and Mick
press.
and
Yeah.
Darren.
I want to get an interview with Ben Bolch,
Oh,
the author of 100 Things That UCLA Fans Should Do Before They Die. He's the LA Times beat reporter for UCLA. I
shout
feel
out
like
Ben Bulge.
yeah, he has so much insider knowledge. So yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. So I think you and I both agree.
Yeah,
Developmental year. I think next year, if we don't lose a bunch of people to transfers, that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried these international guys are going to go to like Arizona or Gonzaga or go back home
yeah,
because because like the problem is that most of these guys aren't going to graduate or leave, right? So like Dylan is definitely not leaving. Mac's not leaving. Bona, maybe he comes back. I think he'll probably leave though. And Lazarus obviously not leaving. Where's he going to go? So
Mick has said that a bunch of people are gonna leave.
he has,
Yeah, I mean he's kind of alluded to that. He's said like, if you don't play well, then you're not gonna be a UCLA player anymore.
Kenny's been a UCLA player for 6 years.
And and that just means whatever it means for Mick. Like if you don't try hard in practice, if you make a lot of mistakes, I don't know, but yeah, I mean he's definitely alluded to like potentially making some hard decisions and not offering spots. Uh,
We'll
yeah.
see.
So I don't know who is gonna leave next year, but I think that Mick may like force Elaine out. Like I think he might force some people out. It's kind of crazy.
Anyways, I'm losing my voice.
All
One
right.
second.
Is there any other? All
So
right.
who
So
do you think is going to leave UCLA Bruins next year?
yeah. So I mean, Bona, 100%, right? He's at least declaring for the draft. I think if he gets terrible feedback, then maybe he comes back. If he gets a great NIL package, then maybe he comes back. But you have to think he's going to leave, especially how after this year went, he's not getting any, media attention or anything. So Bona's gone. I think a couple of the Euro guys are going to leave. I mean, Jan Vide, like, why would you stay? Why would you stay? You're just going to get recruited over, or Mick is going to keep you in the doghouse. You're not getting any minutes. Like, I would transfer out for sure, or go back to Slovenia and try to get a
I
pro.
would, if I was him, I'd try my best to get to Gonzaga or Arizona.
Yeah, that's probably a good move. Yeah, he's probably going to be better. It's so sad. It's so sad that that's even a consideration. But yeah, it's probably the best thing. Elaine, I'm worried about him too. I think he has a good shot of leaving, and Mara, I think, is the other guy. If you,
Ilana makes the least sense to me because he seems like the prototypical Cronin player who's
it's like
amazing
Jalen Clark.
defense, long. He's literally Jalen Clark, who literally
Yeah,
hit the side of backboards on multiple 3-point shots, but he defends his ass off. And Fiblay, he is a legitimate, long, athletic
yeah,
NBA caliber. He'll develop into an NBA caliber defender. I don't know about his
yeah.
offense, but Mick should love this guy.
Jalen was the exact same way. Remember, like his first year he played not at all. His second year he played like in spot minutes at the center position
And
when
would dominate.
yeah, and he did really well, but he still only played like 6 minutes a game for some reason. I have no idea why. And then his third year he started blossoming, and everyone was like, "Duh!" Like we saw this coming, 2 years ago. So I don't understand. That's why I think there must be some sort of attitude problem with Elaine. Like I remember Mick said in some press conference that like, oh, he had his best practice the other day, and I was like so excited. Oh, he's gonna play a lot next game, but he didn't play at all. So like, yeah, if I were him, I probably would leave too. As much as I hate to say that, I think he is gonna be a star, but
I think I would leave. And if I was Mara, I'd get my ass out of
yeah.
UCLA. I'd
One other
get,
thing I'll say as the insider, I'm gonna pull up some evidence of my inside.
while you pull it up, just on Mara, right? Um, the kid, I think he was promised a starting job, even though Mick didn't promise it to Art Reese Dixon Waters. I think he did promise it to Mara because it's a big deal to get him out of he was like under contract and he came over here. I didn't ever realize, but he looks like he's 13, 14 years old.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah.
tall,
It's
but he is
quick.
a twig. And so
Yeah,
if Mick did promise him a starting job, I think that was disingenuous because like, give me a break. Like if me and you, we're going off high, if I saw this guy in person, right? And
yeah,
you saw him going against like Adem Bonas, like no, he's not going to be starting. He needs a year of workout. I know he missed the summer workouts that might have derailed things, right? Too, but
yeah,
he needs a year in the weight room before. I
yeah.
think he probably needs 2 years to
At
develop.
least, yeah, at least a year. Yeah,
And
so
he has touch on offense. He has soft touch, but he is so small. I mean, I think it was a misjudgment in recruiting by Cronin and a miss. I personally I don't have any. I'm not the insider here, but it feels like some of these guys may have been misled.
yeah, I could see that. Okay, so here, you can see I have sources.
Yeah.
That's me right there. For our listeners on Spotify, that's me, and the athletic director. you know, just hanging out at the at one of the most recent games. So I will tell you this: Adai Mara is happy.
Yes.
I don't know what his expectations were
Right.
for the season. I assume he expected to start or at least play, 15 minutes a game, but he is a happy camper. He maybe has some recognition that he's not ready yet. I mean, can you imagine him in the NBA or even the G League? He would get whooped and he would be back to
I
Spain. And
honestly think he would get whooped at high schools.
yeah, you're probably right. He would be back to Spain in 6 months, right? So maybe he had some knowledge and he was kind of like, I don't know why I'm being, you know, selected number one or number one, but he is happy and I could see him staying for that reason. And maybe, Darren Savino, my man, like he develops big guys well, so maybe he does stay. And the thing I'll say about the evaluation is everyone had that wrong. Zaragoza, Adai Mara's old team, they fought tooth and nail. Like they were threatening lawsuits to have Adai Mara stay. Like what? Like was he really that good? Like I don't understand. Was
No
he?
kidding.
It
I
doesn't make
remember Tracy was right in his write-ups was like maybe he could on Bro, shout out Tracy on Bro. But I remember we both were reading, right? Like this is the guy who could step out to the three-point line and hit shots and maybe defend. Like he would play power forward on offense, but center on defense.
Yeah,
He would play power forward on defense and
yeah,
offense. I was like imagining these like Carl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert combo. But then I was like, I saw him. I was like, he has touch on offense, but like I think guards could run through screens that he sets.
yes, yes. I remember. But are you talking about like watching YouTube highlights of him and
Yeah.
being, yeah, and it didn't match up. He's slow. He's lanky.
Yeah, I remember there was a YouTube highlight video. I was like, these guys look like people I would
Yeah,
play against.
yeah. I do think his passing is elite. Like, there's no question about that. His passing is elite, and we could use a lot of that. Like, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's not Cincinnati. It's not Cincinnati basketball to give it to your center and let the center, find the
Oh,
open.
they post up Nuba all the time, but no, I mean that's good news because maybe I mean I was happy at UCLA. I loved UCLA. Like
Yeah,
people
yeah.
loved UCLA. It's
That's
not
the thing.
maybe
Yeah,
he wanted a college experience. Maybe not everybody wants to just like get there for bad. I know I personally, again, I'm not an insider. I think Amari Bailey regrets leaving early because he
yeah,
would have been this team and Amari Bailey would have been a superstar in college basketball this year. He would have gotten so much NAL money. He would have been a first round pick next year. I have no doubt in my mind that if we had Amari Bailey this year, we'd be in the tournament, at least the Sweet 16. He
yeah,
left and he's in the Hornets G League, and the Hornets are the worst team in the league. He can't get minutes, right?
yeah,
So I think some of these guys nowadays with college, if UCLA can get their NIL in order, and that's a big if because UCLA doesn't care about athletics. I think I was reading some article, they get the least contribution towards athletics from the main campus of as anybody.
yeah. No, it doesn't the athletic department have to like loan money from the main campus? It's ridiculous.
Probably. It's I remember like that athletic department has to rent out Poly Pavilion
Yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah. That's what
what
I
is
meant.
stupid like that? We got to get more books in the library. Give me a break. And
Yeah,
this is coming from two people who went to school for a billion years. Give me a break.
yeah,
Like everything's online. You don't need more of this. Just you need the sports teams bring up the whole school, right?
yeah,
But maybe Mara just likes going to
yeah,
what's
yeah.
my favorite dining hall?
Oh.
Deneb. He
B
loves going to
plate, B
Deneb and
plate.
B plate.
Yeah,
Can't love working out at Wooden Center because that place is trash. But he gets his nice basketball
yes.
building.
He
Maybe he
gets
likes to go to Rocco's, little
Russell
LaMonica.
Westbrook court.
Yeah,
Yeah.
LaMonica's pizza slices. Maybe he's
Can,
like, I
can
don't
you
know.
share your Rocco's experience with the listeners?
No, we will get into that in a future episode. But yeah, I mean, my main concerns. I think we talked a lot about this right already, but I think we both agree recruiting is a concern. I
Yes.
think his coaching adaptations are a concern. I'll give him this. He is a good coach. UCLA
Wow.
with the amount that they can pay, which is apparently nothing for coaches, he's the best you're gonna get, right? And I'd take him over Rick Barnes, who is everybody.
Wow.
But I do think it's also fair. Like Mick, there's like these supporters on bro who like anytime you criticize Mick, it's just like blasphemous. He
Yeah.
has flaws, and they're very obvious flaws.
Yes. Yeah.
Another one of his flaws is like when the other team goes big, why do you always have to go big, Mick? Why can't you go small?
Yeah.
Get it. You don't have to play Nuba and Bona together. You just don't
Yeah.
have to do it.
That's like the Rick Pitino, like, old school coaching. Like it's just not. It doesn't make sense. And like what some of the most exciting basketball we ever watched as UCLA fans was when Jalen Clark was playing the five. You know,
Yeah,
that was fun to watch. And I don't think Mick Cronin knew, like, he just doesn't feel comfortable with it, you know? Like he
doesn't.
doesn't
And
it just didn't
why
work.
can't, this is the youngest team. They're super athletic. Why can't you run up and down the floor? You're probably way better.
He's just not capable of doing that. He puts the gear, he puts the, the brakes on. That's just how he is. One thing I'll say though with the NIL, I completely agree. I'm worried about the future. I'm worried about the UCLA donor base, and I'm worried about the administration. I do think that we probably have the worst administration in, like, of all the, top 50 basketball teams in the country. Um, but the chancellor is retiring, Gene Block, I think in June.
Right.
And I never perceived him as someone that really cared about athletics that much. Even though, we had a lot, especially with the Olympic sports, we've had a lot of good years under him. But compared to the,
Women's basketball is doing great this year, by the way, too.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But compared to people, UCLA legends like Charles Young, he and JD Morgan, the old athletic director, Charles Young, the old.
Morgan Athletic Center.
Yeah, they knew that athletics matters for alumni, for donors, for national reputation. It does matter, and I hope, dear God, I kind of doubt it because we're UCLA fans and we're used to the worst things happening to us. But I hope that we get a chancellor that cares about sports, specifically basketball and football.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main way the school gets back money. Like me and you aren't going to donate to the med school. I have to pay like $1 bazillion to go there, right? But
Yeah,
like athletics actually brings joy and pride, and
right,
like people
right.
like bond over sports, and it's very controversial for some people to like athletics is a big waste of money. Like I don't think people realize they're like self-funded at
Yeah,
UCLA. They have
yeah,
to fund everything, and like they have to get these deals and things like that. I don't know. I think it's the most important part of a school. That's why my undergrad I hated, because there was no athletics, like D1
yeah,
athletics. They're finally D1, but it'll take like 30 years for UC San Diego to be anything in Division One.
yeah. I,
Um,
yeah. Imagine about
like
UC San Diego's NIL landscape. It's
it's
not
probably
exactly.
like $10.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we do have great labs to do biology experiments.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
that's the problem too, because the people choosing the chancellor are the UC regents, and they're just arrogant. They don't. And I don't, honestly, I don't really blame them. Like, the UC system is like a gem of academia, and like we discover all, or the UC schools discover all these amazing things, and they probably think they don't need athletics, and whatever. But that's just, I
why
just
do they think UCLA is the #1 global brand? Is it because of the med school or the science labs? Like I've been into those. Like
have you heard
the,
of
nobody.
Gleevec? We discovered Gleevec. We had like 16 med school lectures on Gleevec, the medication. That's
We
why
had
we're
so
the
many
number one.
lectures on the most useless things. Med school could have been condensed into literally 5 months. You should have just done what your specialty. I mean, I don't.
No,
That's
I liked learning about two things: embryology and Gleevec. Glevec's very important
I
medication.
mean, we can have a whole discussion on how useless med school is for
Uh,
some things. Like some things it's useful for, but I think now as a practicing doctor, you use like maybe 0.5% of what you learned in med
all
school.
right, we're getting off
Way
topic. The
too long.
should
Okay,
not
we're
get
gonna
off
we're
of
gonna
that.
wrap up. We're gonna say, are you gonna predict? I want your bold prediction. Is UCLA gonna make the tournament this year?
I'll go with yes. I'm feeling optimistic. We've had a couple games
If we beat
here.
Arizona, it would have been a more legitimate shot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And we had a really good shot. We had, until Kenny Nuba missed that dunk. If Kenny Nuba plays less than 5 minutes a game, that's for the rest of the year, averages less than 5 minutes a game. That's my bold prediction. We will make the tournament.
Okay, my bold prediction and my hope is that UCLA, they've turned it up the last several games. They should have beat Arizona. They've won their other games. Crushed SC. Speaking of, USC is trash at basketball. Oh my god! And Bronny James should not be drafted. He's
Yeah.
not good at basketball. Um,
He will be, but yeah.
yeah, but people are acting like he's gonna be a first round pick this year. Are you?
Um,
That's all the whole broadcast was just talking about Bronny, and he did. I didn't even notice him on the basketball court.
yeah, yeah. I was like looking for him, and yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I
His
don't know,
his heart thing, I don't.
but I
What?
think that yeah, I mean he had the heart issue, but he's playing now. But I think UCLA is going to go on the run, but I don't think they'll win the Pac-12 tournament because I think it's going to be too tough. I think they're going to miss out unless they get that crazy one year. Remember, Steve Alford got in the tournament
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah.
Unless something crazy happens, they have a losing record now. It's not going to happen. But I think they're going to have momentum building up to the end of the year. such that I'll have more faith, hope, and faith for next year. So
Okay.
that's my prediction.
Super bold. Super bold.
Super Bolt. It's not great, but we have talked a long time. So we're going to wrap this episode up. We're going to have more basketball talk with the insider here, Alex, and we'll also be talking football as we come up to football season.
Thank you very much for having me. This was really fun.
All right.